Welcome to this brief lecture entitled Infrastructuring Labor. This session is part of our policy module and draws on insights from the Reroute Research Project. In this presentation, we will explore how various infrastructures, both material and immaterial, formal and informal, shape newcomers' labor and employment prospects. Understanding the nature and impact of these interconnections and dynamics is essential for grasping the broader structural conditions that influence the lives of newcomers. Employment plays a pivotal role in the settlement and incorporation of newcomers. It is not merely a source of income, but a pathway to independence, personal stability, and broader social inclusion. Participation in the labor market enables individuals to build sustainable lives and contribute meaningfully to the host economies. In turn, the effective incorporation of newcomers' labor can strengthen social cohesion and help address labor shortages, benefiting both local economies and society as a whole. However, when access to employment is restricted, the consequences are far-reaching. It results in the marginalization of individuals, the underutilization of skills, and the loss of valuable human potential, outcomes that adversely affect not only newcomers but also the communities they actively contribute to. Reroute promotes a comprehensive view of employment, one that extends beyond the mere possession of a job as an income source to encompass the broader set of structural conditions that determine newcomers' prospects for employment and incorporation. These include legal status, work permits, housing availability and stability, access to vocational training and skills development, welfare and support services, and mobility. Together, these interconnected elements constitute what Reroute conceptualizes as labor infrastructure. While these infrastructures often remain invisible when functioning well, their breakdown becomes starkly visible in the lived experiences of newcomers. For some, such failures represent a persistent, everyday reality. In response, Reroute advances a dual-track policy approach. First, by addressing structural deficiencies and disabling barriers, and second, by recognizing and supporting the alternatives, usually informal and community-based, that newcomers themselves develop and rely on in their efforts to secure employment. Newcomers encounter a complex and often obstructive landscape in their efforts to access employment. Delays in the processing permits, coupled with shifting and inconsistent migration frameworks, commonly drive individuals into precarious informal labor, often situated within the shadow economy. Employment opportunities are frequently concentrated in unregulated, low-paid, or seasonal sectors such as agriculture, domestic work, and the gig economy. At the same time, language acquisition programs and systems for recognizing foreign qualifications often fail to align with the actual demands and conditions of the labor market. Access to stable housing presents parallel challenges, frequently inadequate and in many cases contingent upon exploitative employment relationships. These structural obstacles are further compounded by discriminatory practices which significantly undermine the ability of newcomers to secure decent work. The erosion of formal support systems only deepens these difficulties, leaving many newcomers dependent on informal brokers or personal networks as their only viable channels to employment. Taken together, these conditions do not represent isolated barriers, but rather constitute a systemic ecosystem of exclusion and entrapment. Yet, despite these significant barriers to formal employment, newcomers demonstrate considerable resilience and agency. They actively engage in creating alternative infrastructures that enable access to work and the construction of sustainable livelihoods. These include informal job networks, community-led training schemes, and the support provided by migrant associations and other grassroots institutions. ReRoute refers to these practices as infrastructuring otherwise. They represent bottom-up responses to the gaps left by the insufficient or inaccessible formal systems. Although these arrangements often operate in legal grey zones and lack formal recognition, they nonetheless constitute acts of creativity and self-determination in the pursuit of a livable life. Recognizing and supporting these initiatives offers valuable opportunities for developing a more inclusive, responsive, and functional labor market. Improving access to and incorporation into the labor market requires coordinated action across multiple levels of governance. At the European level, it is essential to regulate and harmonize procedures for fast-track work permits in crucial economic sectors facing acute labor shortages, and to ensure consistent recognition of foreign qualifications. Strengthening the monitoring and enforcement of labor standards is equally critical to uphold fair working conditions and facilitate newcomers' transition to formal employment. Additionally, reinforcing European Union anti-discrimination directives, supporting public awareness campaigns, mandating diversity hiring, and promoting intercultural training in subsidized businesses would significantly improve labor market inclusion. At the national level, legal and administrative frameworks must be reformed to facilitate newcomers' transition to formal employment. This includes simplifying work permit processes, decoupling residency status from labor market access, and incentivizing inclusive and law-compliant employer practices. States should also provide targeted, workplace integrated language training, establish national accreditation mechanisms for foreign qualifications, and expand flexible vocational programs aligned with labor market needs, ensuring access regardless of legal status. Moreover, policy should regulate employment-tied housing, expand affordable housing options, and recognize alternative housing pathways relevant to newcomers. At the local level, the establishment of employment hubs offering job placement, mentorship, and broader support services can play a pivotal role. Investment in childcare services is particularly vital to support women's labor market participation. Finally, local authorities should promote community-based employment initiatives and networking programs that enhance access to job information, opportunities, and employer engagement for newcomers. In conclusion, labor market participation should not be viewed merely as job placement, but rather as part of the broader set of infrastructures that support a fair and stable life for newcomers and facilitate their incorporation into the arrival society. Meaningful incorporation requires critical reflection on how these systems currently operate and often fail to meet the needs of newcomers and local economies. To move beyond fragmented and short-term responses, there must be a sustained commitment to building robust and inclusive labor infrastructures that address both structural challenges and grassroots realities. The Reroute project offers practical, evidence-based guidance to support this transformative shift. Further information is available on our website. Thank you for your attention.